So yeah, that first pilot with Ross in the beginning, and then of course Maria Hill at the end, it was downhill, and I did not mean that to be a pun. But
Boo!
downhill, hill
Boo!
down. Hello and welcome to May the Review Be With You with Nick and Joe. I'm Joe.
I'm Nick.
And today we are talking about the long anticipated finale to Secret Invasion.
Wah, wah,
We
wah. Sorry.
Yeah. No, that's about right. We covered the beginning of Secret Invasion a couple months ago, and there's been some time since the finale has come out. And you and I have had time to really digest it, rewatch it, and see how we feel about it again. Before we get into the finale itself, a quick recap on how did you feel about the beginning of this show?
I was into it at the first half. I enjoyed it. I thought there were some sad or like disappointing directional choices, like with like Maria Hill being killed off and all that. And it was a little weird with how like shocked Fury was with being a spy again, basically, because he's been in space for so long and he just like he's been the first half he was completely like off his game, and you can make a case that he was off his game the whole time, but so that was a little weird. And we also got the whole reveal that he was married, which like is still super weird to me. Like, and they like really hammered home in this last episode, like how deeply married and in love he was, like out of basically nowhere. Um, but overall, I was like, okay, this is fun. It was enjoyable. The first half, I wasn't like you know against like any of the choices I guess they had made. Yeah. How about you?
The first episode I thought was really interesting. I think a lot of these Marvel shows, like even the ones that like don't maybe stand the test of time or ultimately don't stick the landing, I think all of them have a solid pilot. I can't really think of one, even the ones that I don't like all that much. I can't think of a single one that has a bad pilot. Um, so yeah, that first pilot with Ross in the beginning, and then of course Maria Hill at the end, uh, really interesting. And then honestly, from that point on, it just kind of felt like it was downhill, and I did not mean that to be a pun. Um, uh, but
Boo!
downhill, hill
Boo!
down. Oh, we'll miss Colby Smulders.
For
That's
shame,
that's
sir.
the worst part of the show is it
For
killed off Colby
shame.
Smulders.
Yeah, I
Uh,
know. Pretty
what a
pretty brutal.
waste.
Pretty
Yeah,
brutal.
but yeah, I was hoping that maybe, hey, maybe they'll do something and it'll stick the landing here because this doesn't feel it felt lost most of the time, and not like in a good way, like the way Lost was, but like this legitimately felt like it didn't know where
Boo!
it was going.
Stop with the puns, man. Oh
I
my
can't,
god.
I can't stop.
Monster. This is not good.
I am the super
But
pun.
yeah, you're right about it feeling lost the whole time. I'm just looking at my notes right now. I'm just gonna word vomit a bunch of thoughts. Fury, like being married and then it being conveniently to a scroll this whole time. It's like a leap of faith that we're supposed to just be accepting of, which I'm just like, okay. And then they like overdid it on the love story in the last episode, in my opinion. Um,
Wait, quick question about that. So like, so there's something about that story that legitimately confused me. He didn't know that she was a scroll, right?
no, he did.
He did know. Okay,
Yeah.
but he wasn't aware that like she was working for Gravik at one point, but then she had like a change of heart.
No, I think he found out that she was like a secret agent of Gravik like during the show. He found out about that around the same time that she realized that like even though she's a secret agent of Gravik, like she's not going to betray him. She's choose like because I think there was still a point when Gravik was the leader before he really like took control and then went a little bit more crazy, right? I think there was like a transition even in the show where you're like, okay, this is getting more serious, and now the people who are following him really need to make a decision, and if they're going to continue. And I think that that happened kind of simultaneously, which is like a pointless plot point for them to have even introduced because it was so like it had no bearing really on any parts of the episode. There might have been like an episode ending before the next episode where you were supposed to be like, oh no, who's she going to choose or something, but it was like it was like a non-issue really, but they still like made you think about it, which like felt pointless. They could have skipped that and just had her as, I don't know if that answers your question.
I
But
mean, it
like,
was like you said, it was confusing and it was not interesting.
my biggest problem too was like the harvest weapon that we find out about like the last two episodes or whatever. Maybe it was the the fourth episode. I forget exactly when we first hear about the harvest as what like Gravik's really looking for. I think like the moment that Gravik like took the that makes him
Extremics?
explode extremix, the second he took that, like the
Mm.
second that he gave himself that power, I was like, okay, like now this is ridiculous. Like that's really when I started to lose the show started to lose me, because then at that point you transition from being like a show about spies, like, because the thing that the show had going for it was that it's supposed to be like a traditional kind of spy show, and you're gonna stop a invasion or a takeover like in a traditional spy way is what I was hoping for. But then the second they gave Gravik, who was already technically a spy because he's able to transform and look human, right? Like for the other side, second you give him a superpower, it changes the whole thing. It's like not about spies anymore. It's about superpowers. It's just like
So you just hit the nail on the head about my biggest problem with this show and like why I say it's lost. Um, because like you said, we're told that Secret Invasion is going to be this spy thriller, right?
yeah,
And right away there's some skepticism about this because the original Secret Invasion, written by Brian Michael Bendis, which is a great story, uh, is really interesting because it's a secret invasion among the superheroes, right? And you don't know to trust, but like the superheroes are built into the story. It's less of a spy thing and more of
right.
a super powered who do you trust body snatcher thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we're told we're not doing that, right? Which I think most people think, okay, well, we're probably not doing that because like Disney could do that, but like that costs a lot of money for this TV show to get all those stars involved. And we're not trying to do that kind of Avengers level threat for this. So we're just going to make this a spy thing, which I think people were like, oh, it seems a little cheap, but okay, give us a spy thing.
Right.
And then they didn't.
Right. But everyone
um,
loves Nick Fury too, and like
yeah.
it's like, oh, we're gonna get like a spy TV series with Fury. Like this is great. And then it
No,
wasn't.
the last 15 minutes of the show is a super powered beatdown,
It's so
which like
ridiculous.
I don't understand Gravik's plan. Because like the beginning of this, it seems like Gravik is pissed because the Skrulls don't have a home, right?
Right.
And he's trying to build a home on Earth, and he's going to do that by wiping out all of humanity, right? He's going to allow them to kill each other with atomic weaponry. Okay, that part questionable, but like sort of makes sense. There's a and B logic that I get about it.
Right.
Um, but then there's this question about like why do you keep leaving Nick Fury alive? And there's questions about who's he actually loyal to, and we the audience are led to believe, oh well, maybe like it's because like he cares about Nick Fury or something, right? There's something there about why he's not killing him, but that's not it at all. And it turns out Gravik probably doesn't even actually give two anything's about Skrulls because he's willing to host his own people hostage so that he can get what he actually wants out of Nick Fury, which is information on where the harvest is. And I guess Gravik wants the power for what? Like, why does he? How does that aid the goal of finding the Skrulls a home? Is that even his motivation anymore? He was willing to let them all die. I
All right.
I don't understand his character motivation at all.
I have nothing else to add. That was like totally perfect. That was totally a perfect response to that character's like ridiculousness. Like, no notes on your sentence there, sir. No notes.
No
Like,
notes.
it's so true. Like, and then the ending conversation with Fury, which ends up not being Fury, obviously. Like, even that conversation was infuriating. like,
Now you
like
stop it. You stop it.
like what the hell are we what are we even talking about? Uh cuz like Fury is so weak compared to him. Granted it's not Fury. So then you find out okay, well, he was just but at some point like that fight could have started at any moment and then it starts when it's just so stupid. And then she's already taken the harvest and they both take it. We just have a big harvest battle. How many of these damn vials of harvest are out there? So stupid.
Also, like, if you take the harvest, like, well, no, I think they got the harvest at the same time. I think that was the indication that like they both get the powers at the same exact moment. Um, at least that's what I took away from it. I don't know if that's actually true.
No, I think she had
Um,
already taken it at some point.
hmm.
And then he gave it to her, or she gave it to Fury gave it to him to Gravik, but obviously it wasn't Fury. It was
I don't think that's it, because like if that were the case, she could have just kicked his ass right from the get go, right?
I mean, yes, that's correct, but he was handed a vial, which means he didn't have it before that. But we didn't see him take it either, I don't think.
Well, no, we do. It's when he turns on the machine that they're standing in. Like he takes the
Oh, yeah,
harvest,
that's
he
right.
puts it
Sorry.
into a
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
thing. They're
Yeah,
both
yeah, yeah.
standing in the machine.
Oh,
So
yeah,
I think
sorry.
she gets it at the same
Oh my god.
time.
Sorry, you're complete. I like totally blanked about that
Oh,
scene.
no, don't get me
That's
wrong.
hilarious.
That only makes it marginally better. It's still stupid. Like, is there a sense to it? Yeah, I guess. Like, if I had like action figures and I was 6 years old and I was looking for a reason for these two to
Yeah,
fight,
but like you know what doesn't make sense either? Like why would he let Fury stand in the circle?
that's what I was thinking too. I was like, is there a presumption that this only works on scrolls? Like,
Yeah, like why would you
I
even take the chance, you know?
right,
Like
right, kick them out. The whole plan doesn't
so
work if you just kick them out.
so dumb. The reveal of it being
Go on.
Guile is just like so dumb. It was like you know what? I'll take that back. I don't think it was dumb. I could get on board with her like acting like Fury the whole time to try to get an upper hand, but then once she realizes that there's no way for her to get an upper hand except to just fight him, then she eventually like breaks her cover. But the second the cover's broken by her turning into her left arm turning into the Hulk and smashing him or whatever is so fun. It's so annoying, and it's just like it's such a terrible creative decision to have this like hilarious battle where they're just like transforming their bodies into like name an Avenger. Like I hated it. I hated every second of that. It was awful. The CGI was like meh, and I hate it even more because I just trashed the Flash on our one of our previous episodes for being terrible. And then all of a sudden, like, and I'm talking up the MCU for at least building characters and like trying to progress the MCU timeline. And then all of a sudden, like 2 weeks later, we get this awful ending to Secret Invasion with awful CGI and an awful premise. And I'm just like, come on, guys.
It honestly made the Flash look good. Um, it
I don't know
was
if anything can make the Flash look good, but it didn't
yeah,
make it
this was
look
it.
worse.
I only
But
say this because like at least the Flash had a premise and stuck with it. Whether or not that was the premise they should have
yeah,
stuck with, I don't know.
that's true.
But this is what what about this is spy thriller? And also like
Yeah, nothing.
we haven't gotten into the secondary or not the secondary, but the climax that's happening
Right,
parallel to this one,
right,
which like also feels so forced. Um, there's this moment with Sonya, and she's with Rhodey and the president. I think it's before Fury walks in,
yeah,
and and she's like, I can't prove that, you know, he's Skrull. Like, delay the order or whatever, right? And just there's no harm in just waiting. which, like, to be fair, that's actually a good point. Right? But the thing is, Sonya can prove that Rhodey
Right.
is a Skrull.
Right.
Shoot him in the foot. Like,
Right.
she discovered the previous episode, like, oh, look at that. Like, if I stab you, your body can't keep the transformation.
Right.
She was, by the way, the only character that I actually loved throughout this
Yeah, I
entire
agree.
show.
Her character was fun for sure.
Yes.
Solid
Uh,
character.
Olivia Colman is a treasure.
Yeah.
One of the best actresses in Hollywood. She's
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Sonya was a lot of fun. I still don't get Sonya. I don't understand what she is, who she is. Especially in relation to Fury. Like, was she like a spy with, like, what is it, MI6?
Yeah, I
What's the
think so.
British MI6? Yeah,
Yeah,
is she a
MI6.
spy with the Brits and, like, she just worked with Fury in the past? I guess I don't know.
Yeah.
Um,
I think they
but
set
yeah,
that up very
like,
quick.
yeah, they did. But yeah, that whole scene was just like,
I I enjoyed the scene in general. Like I liked the you can I liked the part about, like, you could see Rowdy like slowly losing it because you could tell he was losing control of the situation, and you can tell that he wasn't acting like Rowdy as we think we know him would act in a high pressure situation. You could tell he was starting to feel the pressure about the scenario, which is not something that we're used to with that character in the entirety of the MCU. Um, so I enjoyed like that aspect, and I did enjoy like the little spy aspect of like getting rid of the guard slowly to this final showdown, and then of course the Fury reveal simultaneously, basically while we find out that Gaia is actually just transformed. Wasn't as cool as they probably thought it would be because of how annoying the transformation of Gaia was. It's just like, okay, well then obviously Fury's in the hospital, and I'm not happy about it because like that was so awful, like with the transformation, that I don't care now. But yeah, that's very annoying that like she could shoot him in the foot and easily prove it, but instead they have this conversation where Fury's trying to like talk sense into the president.
I've never felt
Defeated by
defeated
trying to
before.
explain. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Like the same thought. Like I don't
yeah.
even know what else to say. Uh, then
This came at the worst time, I feel like, for Marvel.
yeah,
Um,
100%.
yeah, like Marvel had is already faced like such a beatdown from critics who are waiting for Marvel to like screw up and fail and not be on top, right?
Yeah,
And this came at like the perfect time.
yeah,
Um, so I don't know, man. I'm far from the assumption that the era of the superhero is over. I don't believe that for a minute, especially with how well Guardians of the Galaxy did.
yeah,
Um, but geez, man, like, if you're gonna put something out there, I don't know, stand by it. Like, that's what it is. It felt like
yeah.
this was chopped up in a lot of ways, and they just couldn't commit to an idea.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's definitely a great point. I don't know, it's just like who's like making the creative decisions across the board right now? Like
it's still Kevin.
yeah, but it feels like there's someone else, or there's maybe more of a push and pull within the
Mm,
organization, because like the first couple phases, like it was really coherent, and things, they had it planned out so well that credit scenes were relating to each other perfectly, and so I don't know, this and
so
Guardians was so good too, and then like this is
yeah,
just like such like a
I think
disappointing.
so. To answer your question, I think because if you recall, like a lot of like I don't want to call them flops because most of them aren't, but a lot of the properties that people have been like uncomfortable with in like the last couple of years um, were developed during COVID,
Mm,
and COVID really screwed up a lot of things. And for Marvel, the big thing that it screwed up was its production schedule, and then B, its release schedule.
right.
Um, I forgot what the original order for the film and TV show releases were, but like a year into COVID, it got completely rearranged. And
Yeah,
I think that that screwed up the way that we like received a lot of information about these
mm,
stories, right? And
that
then
makes sense.
also, yeah, and then also I think it screwed up like some of the production for these stories. You know, there was such
Yeah,
a demand for more shows,
yeah,
you know?
yeah. That's a good point. Also, the very end, right? So like the very end, right? Like they found out it's Rhodey. Gaia kills Gravik. Scroll Rhodey dies.
SkRodey.
Screw. Damn, that's funny. Uh, we find Gaia finds like all of the humans like underneath in the like who have been trapped. One of them being the real Rhodey, and we find out that he's been there for a very long time,
Again, they're not committing to anything on that.
which we don't
I
know how long,
Yeah.
but we can assume it's after Civil War because it looked like he didn't have use of his legs.
Oh, good point. I was wondering why he wasn't walking. I forgot about that. Huh.
But it also could be because he was in so long that he just doesn't have the motor function. So
Oh my God.
technically we don't know how long he's not been Rhodey. But one thing is for sure, that Rhodey that woke up has no clue about anything that happened like in the last like phase of the MCU. So he has no clue that Tony's dead. You know,
Right,
like
right. I'm just putting that together in my mind. Can you imagine if this is what you said? It's Civil War Rhodey, right? Like just after Civil
right,
War
right,
means he doesn't know about Thanos. He doesn't know about the blip. He doesn't know
right,
about Tony.
right.
And then of course there's the
Any of it.
scrolls thing.
But then you like right, and then you think back to those scenes like when Tony's dying and you see like the interactions and
Yeah, that
you're
does
just
screw it
like
up.
did they really just like nix all of that emotion that they set up for years
God, I
for
hope not.
fucking Secret Invasion? Are we kidding? Like are we fucking kidding?
Because
Like
that is such a that's a beautifully sad
so
scene.
now anytime I watch
Ugh.
Endgame and I see that scene, I'm like, "Oh yeah, but it's not really Rhodey, so I guess it's bullshit."
Yeah,
Like, are you
that's
kidding?
Scrody. Scrody had a good relationship with Tony too.
It's so stupid. It's so disappointing if that's the
I hope we
case.
get a definitive time eventually, and I hope it is after
But even
Endgame.
if but there's no way. There's no way it's after Endgame based on how long he was in there. Based on that statement. Because
But
it
we don't
hasn't been
know.
that long since Endgame.
I don't know. I don't know about that because so they keep there was something that they kept saying to Nick that bothered me because like again they weren't telling us how much time had gone by because remember Fury got blipped, right?
Right.
And he comes back and everyone keeps saying like, oh, you haven't been the same since the blip, Fury. You've never been the same. It's like, well, how much time has gone by? Like, because like it's only been like a year. Like, fuck off. Maybe give him some time. Like,
Right.
he didn't exist
I'm
for 5 years. That's a lot.
I'm trying to think back to the other TV shows and remember like did they set up a distance of time between like Endgame and any of the TV shows? I know that um Spider-Man. Well, there's been two Spider-Man since Endgame, so
Well, so that was a great one to bring up.
that's tough.
Because Spider-Man actually does give you definitive time. So I can't remember when they take the Euro trip exactly, but by the end of uh, No Way Home, it's Christmas, right? Um, he's swinging through New York, and it's
Right.
become Christmas time. I think the beginning of that movie is at around Halloween time,
Okay.
because like some time goes by after the trip. There's like a
Right.
montage of people hating him. It's Halloween, and then by the end of the movie, it's Christmas. So we know that 6 months to a year has gone by thanks to Spider-Man. Um, but other than that, I'm not
And
sure.
then Fal Captain Falcon.
I'm waiting for you. You can do this.
Captain Falcon in the Winter Soldier.
Nope, that's not
I know,
it.
but I just wanted to be Captain Falcon so
I
bad.
a bunch.
Exactly. Um, I honestly
So many
forget
moves.
what they called that show.
It's Captain America.
Did they actually call it Captain America in the Winter
Yeah,
Soldier?
Captain
Yeah, I
America and
guess
the
that
Winter
makes sense. Yeah,
Soldier.
because he
Wait.
becomes the new Captain America. But
Oh wait, no, I'm an idiot. After I just mocked you, it's Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
thank you. Okay, I was at least right, but calling him Captain Falcon is just funny because it's got the Super Smash Bros. Vibes. But yeah, but that show, I think we have to look back now, but I'm pretty sure they give us a timeline as well from the blip on that show, because like a lot of that show is the Flag Smashers like being upset with how the governments have handled the situation, and there's a space of time that I think they try to establish. Of course, we don't know what that space of time is relative to Spider-Man either, right? So those could be happening at the same time, technically, but there's probably a nuance there. But either way, it's only probably maybe a max of 2 years.
I would say so.
So like I guess that's a lot of time. Like if you're not moving your body for 2 years, you will lose function, right? So I guess there is a chance that it's after Endgame that they get control of Rhodey.
There's a chance, but like you said,
man,
like if you
I don't
use
know
the
though.
implication of a long time, I mean 2 years could be under that, but like it does feel like it's longer than 2 years. But I swear they only chose that dialogue because they didn't have to commit to a number, you know?
Right. One other
Oh,
thing
go
was
ahead.
the vigilante thing at the end, right? When the president like makes this like really crazy statement about how like any foreign invaders are like against us, like blah blah blah, like we're coming for you, we know where you are, and then like vigilantes start like killing SKRULLS who are undercover, and then they start accidentally killing real people because they have no freaking clue. And I'm just like, okay, now we're just setting up like complete Civil War situation, like actual Civil War, not like Civil War within the Avengers. And like, I don't know, it's just, I get that that's the response from a president after getting kidnapped by a foreign invader, but like, you were also saved by your like spies who have knowledge of the foreign invaders like in a complete way, so like they know that like not all of the foreign invaders are actually bad. So like I don't know, it just felt like the president got like unhinged there at the
No,
end.
I totally agree with
Like
that.
it just felt a little bit like like
Yeah, and
too
it
much.
didn't quite see the leap. It was like, why is all of a sudden he just crazy now? Like,
Right.
it's not like, I mean, he already was kind of getting annoyed with Rhodey earlier in the show.
Right.
So yeah, it felt like
So
a
now
very
he just
strange
can't
leap.
trust anyone, so he's just like
Right, kill them all.
doing his own genocide thing. I'm like, what? Or he's a scroll. You know what I mean? And he's just trying to like
Right,
we
like
didn't
what
even
a
consider
weird,
that. Like he could be a
what
scroll
a
and he's
weird
just
way
like
to
killing his
end
own.
your
Like I don't know.
show.
Yeah.
Uh,
I didn't like it. I think it's my least favorite TV show so far, actually, which is a little
Dude, I think it's my
disappointing.
least favorite Marvel thing
Wow,
so
that's great.
far.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, like this is
That's
for
wild.
me. I would much rather watch Thor: The Dark World again. I do not like that movie. I think that movie is boring. But here's the thing: that movie also has Tom Hiddleston in it, and Tom Hiddleston is
Yeah.
always entertaining,
Tom
even in
Hiddleston
a bad
crushes.
movie.
He crushes that. Yeah, that's
Yes, he
true.
does.
That's true. Wow, man. Thor Dark World is probably, I think I've only seen that one twice, and I've seen everything else from Marvel many more times. That's hilarious.
There's a reason.
Right. Yeah, definitely Secret Invasion, though. Bottom of the list from Marvel goes. So, like, this score is going to be pretty brutal.
No, I'm very excited to hear what you're going to say. But before we get there,
Yeah.
I wanted to address a couple things. So the first is what you brought up about like the vigilante stuff toward the end with everybody like just going
Yeah.
psycho and killing everything. It would have been interesting, by the way, if they could have worked in the Flag Smashers somehow.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Flag Smashers being like, we were right all along. Like something. That would have been a neat way to tie in another show,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But like it was especially strange to see this and then one other thing.
Mhm.
So Sonya and Gaia meet up toward the end of this story, and we find out in their interaction that they're going to be working together, and they're gonna, in Sonya's own words, "You will use me, I will use you. We will not make the same mistakes of Talos and Fury, uh, of love and friendship. This will be not." Right? Which, if that's the end of the show, weird, but okay, fine. That appears to be what the president is preaching as well. Um, at least that's consistent. But then you have, and I don't know if this is on purpose or just like a lack of oversight. I don't know. Like, if it's on purpose, I don't get the point. You have Fury and Priscilla, which that's her Earth name. Vera, I think is her name. No, I think that's Gaia's name. I can't remember her scroll name. Anyway, um, before they have their X Files uh, image of them going into the light, right? Before that, uh, there's this confession of love, no matter what your skin is, right? And it just felt like a really conflicting message given what we just saw from Sonya.
Yeah.
Um, in just specifically calling out Fury for having too much love, right? And I guess saying that that is what led to the downfall of the relationship, which is again a very strange premise. Um, and
And,
everything with Priscilla just feels so shoehorned. I
yeah,
just don't get
it's
the
so
character.
forced. And if correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't like they were having that conversation by the ship, and like Priscilla's like, no, I have to stay here, and then Fury like it makes a good point on why she wants to stay on Earth, but then Fury talks to her, and then she decides to go with him.
Yeah,
That's just like totally dumb.
you're right. Right. It was like,
Just
why?
why bother with a couple minutes? Like just have
Also,
her
she said
decide to go with.
she has to stay because like of her work, and her work's never been more important. It's like, what do you do? What's your work? Why don't
Right,
we know anything about you?
and then Fury's like, yeah, you're one of the best political minds or whatever he says. What does he call? I don't remember what. I'm like, wait, since when?
Right, right.
Like shit. Like until now, we thought she was just a housewife, like as cover. Like, what do you mean she's like one of the most important minds of the whatever? I'm like,
Right.
this is so stupid,
What does
man.
this
Like,
character do?
makes
Uh,
absolutely no sense.
the
Makes
last
no
thing I want to
sense.
bring up, last thing, um, and this is a thought I had after watching it for the second time. Um, this by no means saves this show for me. I just think it's an interesting idea. So we get to the end of this, and as you and I have pointed out, it's weird that the end of the show has things as destabilized as they
Right.
are, and hasn't really fixed a lot of problems. Which, I mean, not every Marvel show has, right? I think the end of WandaVision leaves things destabilized, but in a self-contained way.
Right.
Um, where I can watch that show and be like, yes, this was a proper ending, even though
Right.
things are not great.
Right.
Whereas this show, absolutely not. Um, but that got me thinking because of something specifically that Fury says, which again, this comes out of nowhere. Um, Fury says that not the Skrulls, the Kree are willing to make peace talks with the Skrulls, um, and possibly find them a world. Um, which two quick things about that. I love the conversation with fake Fury and Gravik, and he's like, "I knew after searching for a home for you that there was no planet I could find that would be suitable for you." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Really? The whole universe?
Right.
You couldn't find one planet?
I'm like,
Wow!"
I'm like, Captain Marvel's been gone for a long time. Are you sure?
Right? Are
Right.
you sure about that? Are you
But then at the
sure?
very end, when he's like, the Kree are gonna make peace. I'm like, oh, now
Right.
they're gonna make peace.
Right. I was like, I'm sorry. Why haven't we talked about that before? That seemed important. And
So stupid.
Since when did the Kree seem like they were going to make peace? They were ready for genocide earlier.
Yeah.
We've missed something. But anyway, okay.
Right.
So that's happening, right? And he says there are peace negotiations going on. This gets me thinking. Oh, I wonder if that's a lead-in to the Marvels.
Mm-hmm.
And because like the thing that stuck with me was like the way that they are leaving this show with the planet so destabilized. This feels like the sort of thing that you can't just ignore in your other Marvel properties. Like this
Right.
is something that sticks around,
Right.
right? So like is this something that's going to be important for the Marvels, or is this something that sticks around until Secret Wars? And if so, how do the scrolls impact that?
Yeah, like
This just feels like this is such a big plot thread that probably will not be addressed.
yeah, I imagine it's somewhat addressed in the Marvels because obviously that's the next thing that we know that Fury's going to be in, and we've seen a trailer for that already. But like they've just like done such a poor job of whatever they're trying to get to with this series that I'm actually like a little bit scared for how the Marvels is going to be because I actually like all three of those characters. I think they've done a really cool job with building those characters. You know, like Maria Rambeau and obviously Captain Marvel and then Mrs. Marvel. Like, but now like if this show is supposed to lead into that, I'm a little bit worried about what the hell this show's going to actually be about, or the movie's going to actually be about. It's like I'm actually excited for it, but not after the setup that they've just done here. I don't know. We'll see.
I hope so, man. Brie Larson deserves some love. Captain
Yeah.
Marvel deserves some love.
Yeah.
I really hope that movie sticks the landing.
Well, it's just crazy. We haven't had another Captain Marvel movie. It's been like what, 3 years, 4 years. I don't even know when that last one came out. Longer than that?
2000, 2017? Holy crap, is it 5 years?
Let me look. I'm looking it up.
Or is it like early
Uh,
2018, maybe?
no, okay, 2019, Captain Marvel. So 4 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Wait,
But the
when did
funny part
Endgame come
about
out?
that
2019?
Endgame, yeah.
Huh, I did not realize that.
But that's the funny part about Captain Marvel is it came out in 2019, but the chronological order of Captain Marvel is the second MCU film, right?
Right.
Because Captain America is
That's
still
right.
technically first, right? It's Captain America, then Captain Marvel is how the chronological order goes, if I'm not mistaken.
Which makes it even longer since there's
Which
been a
makes it even
CR.
longer since there's
Yeah.
technically been a Captain Marvel film, right? Like since like Captain Marvel has been like, chronologically like a in the MCU, it's like it's Captain Marvel a shit ton of time, Endgame, and then like a shit ton of more time, not as much as the first shit ton, but like a half a shit ton, and then now like we're getting another movie. It's just like
Yeah, it's exhausting.
it is exhausting.
All right,
I don't
man.
know.
I think
Let's do
we have
scores.
scraped the bottom of this barrel. Before I throw out my score, I do want to say a couple positives. As I mentioned before, Olivia Colman as
Yep.
Sonia was wonderful. I would easily watch another show with her. Um, I also want to. I think performances across the board were pretty okay. Obviously, Olivia Colman's was a standout. Even though I don't like Gravik's character, I think Kingsley Ben Adder was really good as him. I found his performance pretty compelling most of the time. Um, and I'm glad that he was at least in Barbie, which was a huge success
Nice.
because he deserves to be in a successful property. Amelia Clark was fine, serviceable.
Yeah.
I didn't think she was a big standout, but
I
it was
I
fine.
liked her in it, and I was excited that she was going to be in the MCU. But now I'm not
Same.
excited at all because she's like the strongest one. All of a sudden, like it's like so
That
dumb.
is weird.
It's so dumb.
Yeah, she just has all the powers.
I don't like it. I don't like.
She even has ghost powers for some reason.
I hope that. Oh yeah. What the fuck?
Yeah, right? Like
that's a character we haven't like. I don't even. We're not getting into this. We're not doing that today. That's not happening. We're moving. We're ignoring that. We're not even gonna get into that.
oh man, we should do an episode of the
we should
MCU's
do.
biggest plot holes.
We should do that. That's a great call. That's
Yeah.
definitely what our next episode should be, because I think we have a while until we have something else to talk about MCU wise.
Oh,
So
dope. Okay.
I have to check back and see what's next. But Loki's next in a month, 2 months.
Yay.
That I'm stoked for. I cannot freaking wait for that. I am so excited for Loki. Um. Anyway. But yeah, it's just like so dumb that she's like the strongest Avenger now. What are we doing, man? But I was, and it's disappointing because I was like super stoked for Emilia Clarke to be part of the MCU, and I'm like, eh. I assume that the harvest isn't. I assume that like it wears off, but like that also seems
Please
stupid
wear
too.
off.
That also seems
Please wear
stupid.
off.
I hope it does, but it also is dumb if it does. You know, it's like
Yeah.
a catch-22 kind of like. Yeah, I hope it wears off. It probably wears off. And if it doesn't wear off, it's dumb. But if it does wear off, it's also dumb. It's just dumb. You know? It's one of
just
those.
dumb.
It's just
so
dumb.
dumb.
So
Yeah.
hopefully they
Get your
take the dumb route
superheroes
of
out
it wearing off. Hopefully it wears off dumb. You know, it's one of those.
Hopefully.
But then it
That-
leaves the door open for them to bring it back anytime they want, which is mega dumb.
I mean, listen, let it fade. You know, like the less staying power this show has, the better.
Yeah,
Ugh,
that's
this is a rough
that's
one.
the point. This was a rough one. All right, I don't know what I'm going to clip for YouTube on this.
It's just us going.
Yeah. And then you finishing with, it's so exhausting.
That's how you sum up episode 6 of Secret Invasion.
Oh my
All right,
gosh.
Secret Invasion scores 1 through 10. What is your score?
This is the lowest score I've ever given on a percentage standpoint for anything we've ever. Well, actually, no, shit. I have to look back at my Flash review and compare that percentage wise to out of 5 with an out of 10. I don't think I can do. I don't remember what my Flash score was. So this is going to be the lowest TV show I've ever scored for sure. And I honestly, my brain's going to like 3.5, but I'm going to go with a 4.5 out of 10. That's what I'm going to give it.
Okay. That's pretty bad. I'm giving it a 2.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, Joe.
I'm giving it a 2. This will be the lowest thing I probably ever grade. Nick, I
Wow.
hated this. I didn't even
Wow.
want to watch the finale.
Oh my gosh.
Honestly, like if I didn't enjoy Olivia Colman so much, I would probably give it a 1. She saves it by 1 point. There's just so much to dislike about this show, and just not enough reason for me to ever come back.
A 2 out of
least,
10. Mine.
Yeah.
Goodness.
At least for Thor Dark World, again, Tom Hiddleston, but also like it has like continuity into other Marvel properties. Whereas like this kind of feels like no one will ever talk about this again, and I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I mean, look, nothing you're saying is wrong. I agree with everything you're saying. My score was also the lowest I've ever given, but like, 2 out of 10 is.
I wanted it to be brutal.
Damn.
They brutalized me. They brutalized
That's really
me.
bad. It's really bad.
Also, they killed Maria Hill.
Yeah,
and that was not okay.
I can't change my score because scores are final once they're said out loud. But you've convinced me that I should have gone lower.
Alrighty. That will do it for us on episode 6, Secret Invasion. We'll be back with more reviews for you soon. But until then, may the review be with you.
Peace.